Michael Vasquez joins us now from Binghamton. Good morning. How are you?
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you now, yes. So thanks for coming on the program.
Well, thank you for covering the subject, what happened at the Back the Blue Binghamton event. It was quite an event, and I think you've seen some of the press coverage of it. And first, let me thank everyone who did show up. Let me thank all of the people who worked with me to put that event together and came out and speak. I think it was very important. I was listening a little bit earlier in the show to some of the callers that called in. Let me clarify, I'm running for the Broome County Legislative District 13. My opponent is Bob Wessler. And so the event, though, was meant to be non-political. And the event, we put it out there, it was to celebrate our law enforcement for people to know. And if they want to see it, I have a complete live stream on my Facebook, Michael Vasquez, which shows everything for the event. 40 minutes shows everything that happened there without edit, so they can see that for themselves. It's also on YouTube. But we were there to celebrate our law enforcement. One of the most important things, I think, especially in these days where people are attacking our law enforcement. In Binghamton, do you know that ever since we had the body cams out there, every single complaint of police abuse that has been placed against them, when the body cam footage is reviewed and shown to the people who are making the complaint, not one complaint has gone through because not one has been valid. That's something that leads the state and many parts of the nation. Our police are excellent, and we should be able to thank them for that, for the job that they're doing in protecting us and for standing up for our rights and doing it well, even as many people, or some people, I should say, some very vocal people, denounce them and want to defund them, which means, in fact, to disband them, just like it did in Seattle. They defunded the police and took away 10% of that police force. And I disagree with that. And so did others who came to the event. Now, the real problem is what happened at the event. We saw that Black Lives Matter and members of Plot, led by Messiah Andrews, one of their
stop mentioning names. Don't mention names.
Why?
Because
Why?
I don't know who was there. So
I do, and I have video.
Well, that's okay.
I was there.
Don't stop mentioning. If you mention a name, the interview will end. So there were people who came to protest.
There were leaders.
Yeah, don't mention names. Now, let me put you on notice, Michael Vasquez. If you mention any names going forward, the interview will be terminated. So now tell us about what happened at the event at the courthouse.
Well, as I was mentioning, though you're editing the facts of what happened.
No, just be careful. I'm running a radio program, and I'll run it my way. So let's be very careful here. Just going forward, you understand the rule. Going forward for this segment, do not mention any names.
So to continue with the edit of the facts that occurred, leaders of Plot and BLM brought together a group of individuals, a couple dozen people, who wanted to protest. We were fine with that. We were willing to allow that. In fact, we invited them to peaceably assemble to be able to make their statement with their signs. That was fine. When they walked up with a boombox and started to blare that in my ear and that of other speakers, when they decided to start playing cornhole and other games in front of us, obstructing the news media from being able to see it, when they started to surround and intimidate both me and the news media from being able to give interviews on why we were there, yeah, that's no longer peaceably assembly. That's a disruption. That's intimidation. And I have to tell you that in my personal opinion, I believe this is motivated by fear. I believe that BLM and Plot are so afraid of people hearing another point of view that they might agree with, that they will do almost anything to silence that voice. Because God forbid if anyone had ever even attempted anything like what they did to us at one of their events, there would be riots in the streets. Now, that small minority of our community, I don't believe represents the community. I do wish that other people like my opponent in the race would come out and publicly denounce this. I would love to hear the Democrats come out and denounce this obstruction of the First Amendment that occurred denouncing and silencing people from being able to share their opinion, like we allow them to do. But I do want to thank Ashley Biviano of Press Connect, who I believe had the best coverage of the entire event. And I think it's really sad that our community is under such an assault that we can't express our views. I think people who were at the event share that same opinion. I think the 700 people I know of that have seen video, the entire video unedited of this event, agree with me on that. I believe that this is a problem in our community where individuals are not willing to allow the opposite side to have their voice. And I denounce that. I think everyone who is involved would denounce that. You don't have to agree. No one's asking you to do that. And we can always improve our police force. We can always improve our law enforcement and our laws. You can't do that if you're not allowing someone else to speak. They're human beings like the rest of us. No one has every answer. No one has the perfect answer. It's by working together that we get the best answers for our entire community, and our entire community grows. And our community cannot grow if we disband the police and remove them. And we know that because we see the examples in Seattle, in Portland, Austin, Dallas, Chicago, New York City. We can continue. Indianapolis. We should denounce the violence that we see other places and not allow it to come into our community, as it appears some people want to make it happen. And we know that because look at what they did. Just because someone said, hey, I have a view. I want to celebrate the good job that is being done by our law enforcement in our community. And while they can improve, you know what? Let's not deny or distract from the fact that they are doing an excellent job right now. You know, you didn't see the video. You know how they were using racial slurs against me? No one would approve of that. They denied, they're talking about black voices should be heard, except my black voice can't be heard, my black Hispanic voice. They go up there and they say, you're not black because you don't agree. That's not how we communicate in our community. That's not how we improve our community. That's not how we work together to have the best community possible, especially in these trying times right now, where there are so many issues across the nation, and many of them are affecting us together. That's what we were there to speak about. And as DJ mentioned on the show, just before I came on, could they have come up and spoke? You know what? If they actually peaceably assembled, we may have considered that. But that's not what they did. That's not what they were there for. They were there to intimidate and to try and put fear. And guess what? It didn't work. Because we aren't intimidated. We're not fearful. And yes, I will be on the forefront to stand against them when they're trying to disrupt someone's First Amendment rights, just so would protect their First Amendment right when they have their events. This is something we need to stand up against. And I would love to hear the rest of the Democratic Party, which they are members of and that they represent, and say this is wrong. Because I do not believe the majority of Democrats in this county, in this nation, agree with what happened on Back the Blue on Tuesday. That's not America. That's not what we're here for.
I appreciate your call, and thank you for offering the insight of what happened at the Broome County Courthouse.
And I invite you to look at the actual video.
Okay, I will try to check it out at some point. Michael Vasquez, I thank you for joining us. Let's get some more views now